All right, hey everyone. We are going to chat about money again. We're going to talk about payroll real quick. Increasing payroll. How often do you do it? How much do you do it? Why do you do it? So, oh man, this is such a big topic, and there's so many. We could do a dozen videos on this, and we probably will. One of the things, real quick, we just had a revenue increase tool video that we put out here just recently. I'll put a link to that up here in the description. And hey, if you like these videos, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell if you'd like to be notified whenever new videos come out. But we did that video to do this video because oftentimes we're chasing payroll with our rates. Just how a lot of us run a business, small business, childcare center, and other centers as well, other types of industries. So anyway, hey, let's talk about payroll. When do we do it? You know, there used to be no rhyme or reason to when I gave raises when it came to staff. They really didn't know. It was so nice when we increased our staff from 20 to 40, from one center to two centers. I began to try to find ways to simplify processes, and Colorado increased our payroll our minimum wage. It was down, I don't know, $7.35, I think, when it kicked off, over 5 years, by 90 cents a year to $12 here in the year 2020. So that made a big change. So anyway, timing. I increase my primary payroll increase is January 1, along with minimum wage. I'm going to throw some final considerations at the end of this video. Stay tuned to watch that. I think some final thoughts will really be interesting on this topic. But first of all, one of the things to think about is, if let's say you have an aide at $10, the minimum wage is going up to $10.90, and you have a lead teacher at $12, if that aide gets a 90-cent increase to $10.90 and your lead gets a 50-cent increase, did they? Because one way to calculate that, they might have just received a 40-cent decrease in pay. One way to think about it, I really advocate for my staff, and I'm sure you do too. If you wouldn't be watching this video if you didn't advocate for your staff. So one of the things I really encourage you to do is, if the taxpayers in your state decide people need to make more, then by that same reasoning, they've said people need to pay more. So this is why I'm an advocate for rate increases. So if you're going to raise your rates, you've got to raise your payroll. If you're going to raise your payroll and your staff wages, you've got to raise your rates. These are two things that have to go hand in hand. And because our payroll laws say that you have to raise your rates, aka minimum wage going up, then you have to raise your rates. Did I say that right? Raise payroll, raise rates, you got it. Okay. So I try to make sure there's a standard swing where everybody goes up. Now that's assuming they meet their expectations. And I'll finish with expectations at the end of this video as well. That might be the biggest thing that saves you money. Let me write that down real quick. All right, here we go. Let's take a look at a scenario where I've got, it looks like about 10 staff here, 10 or 11 staff, 11. And I've got rates that these staff were making in 2018. This is a fictitious scenario, but it's realistic for a program like mine and probably one like yours. Now, here is what they're making in 2018. I used this tool for 2019, but for simplicity, I took out the raises. So here's what they're making in 19. So Kristen was earning $15.75. She got a dollar raise in 19, and I'm considering a dollar raise in 2020, which would take her up to $17.75. Now this chart is nice because not everybody works 40 hours a week. So Kristen works 40 hours, but Danny only works 27. And so as it calculates her total earnings over here at the end of payroll, it's going to take her hourly wage times number of hours per week, and I times that times 50. I'm going to assume that everybody takes 50, works about 50 weeks a year, takes about 2 weeks off. We're open 252 days, 251 a year. The math is pretty solid, but this is important for just giving you a basic baseline, I think. All right, so again, even if you have part-time staff, let's say Karen's part-time, she works 15 hours a week. So she just works 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. So this formula allows you to calculate their wage on their average hours per week. And I really think that gives us a good, realistic payroll number. And you can simply compare this to the payroll, your gross payroll for the last year and see where you're at. Maybe you need to make some minor adjustments in this formula. All right, but what this allows me to do is look at what my staff are earning right now in 2019, what each of them are going to see as far as a raise here in 2020, what their current wage is going to look like, and what that does overall to payroll. So Kristen, if she gets a dollar raise, will be earning $17.75. Last year, based on this $16.75, her payroll, she cost $33.5. With that dollar raise, it's going to cost me $35.5. So a dollar raise equals a $2,000 increase in payroll. Now, let's say that Kristen, just recently received her director's certification. So now she's taken over my center, and I elect to give her a $2 raise. Once I do that, all these simple formulas that are buried in the spreadsheet come across. So now she's going to cost me an extra $2,000, so $4,000 increase. Okay. Importantly, down here at the bottom of the 2019 calendar column, my total payroll was $271,000. Increased payroll with 2020 raises is $289,000 for a total difference of $17,925. I throw in taxes. I don't know if this is 100% accurate. Well, it's not, but a good estimated guess. One estimated guess is 1.2% in payroll taxes. So I throw that in there. So $17,925 plus an extra 1.2% equals $20,000. So what, again, this allows me to do, this simple tool, it allows me to say, okay, where am I at with payroll right now? What kind of raises do I think I want to give? What can I afford to give? What do I need to give? And then what is my estimated annual increase in payroll going to be? I think this is a really good tool. Here's some other factors to consider. I always try to rank my most expensive employee at the top and my least expensive employee or wage earner at the bottom. It also allows me to look at these names and ask myself, do I really need to continue to prioritize Kristen, Bobby, Danny, and Nikki over someone like Tina? Let's say Tina has taken over tremendous responsibility. Maybe she hasn't been with me as long, but she's taken a tremendous amount of responsibility. And when you look at what you're paying your staff, this kind of ranking them based on money and cost makes me think, man, maybe Tina is the one that needs a $2.25 raise. Maybe because of everything she's bringing to the organization. Okay? So in that case, now she's earning $15.25. I can grab her, slide her up above Nikki, and go, you know what? I think that's where she needs to be in the ranking of senior staff in contributions to my organization. So I kind of like that visual ranking aspect. The other thing is consider the kid factor, or maybe a bonus factor if you have staff without kids. In this case, for Kristen, she has 2 kids. She has a school ager that comes before and after school and full days in the summer, and she has a preschooler that's supposed to be full days all year round. So when I took how much a private pay family would pay for 2 kids with the same scenario and divide that by 8 hours a day, 250 days a year, I came out with $4.35. I need to add that on top of her hourly wage to really consider the gross expense hourly that this staff member costs me. If you don't put a number, a monetary number on staff children in your care, you may lose sight of really how much that's costing you or how much, in other words, you're reinvesting in that staff member. So for Kristen, for example, I might say she is 100% worth that. Absolutely. But I need to recognize that her hourly cost to me is $23.10 an hour. Okay. If I look at Danny, who also has, let's say, 2 kids in our care, let's say Danny has 3 kids in her care, so I estimate that would be $6.50 per hour based on an 8-hour day. Now she's costing me $22.75. Again, I might take Danny, rank her above Bobby because she's costing me more, and say, does that make sense? And I may need to do a wage adjustment, may need to consider some things. More often than not, especially with senior staff, if they have kids in your program, they're worth every ounce of that investment you make. And as promised, I'm going to get into a tool that we use in this video that's going to help with some of the calculation of raising your payroll rates. So we'll turn on that recording as well. Let's dive into that. What I want you to recognize is that you can now manipulate the wage increase. You're going to put Kristen at 150. You realize that Tina's doing fantastic, but we need to get this number right here, let's say, down to about 18,000, because you worked the our increasing revenue tool and realize that you can do about $20,000 in increased revenue. And so let's say that you need to get down to about $18,000 in payroll. You've worked our increasing revenue tool and realize you can, with your rate increases, you'll probably be about $20,000 in increased revenue. So let's try to keep payroll down just a little bit underneath there, create a little bit of a buffer. Again, remember, this is an educated guess. So let's say that, let's get back to our tool here, that you need to get this down to about $20,000. So you're going to have to make some trims. So maybe Kristen is going to get a $1.25 increase. Maybe Tina's going to get that $1.75. Gina, you know what? She didn't quite meet a few expectations you had. She's going to come down to 75. Sally is going to come down to 75 cents. I'm almost there. I need $788 more. And let's take a look at Nikki, who's been coasting a little bit. And we're going to bring her down to about 50-cent increase. Okay. So now I've got that increased payroll for 2020 dialed in, estimated about that $18,000. So using the simple formulas in here, you can build it. You can reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to share this with you. If you're with my local county, it's in our it's in the child care consulting templates and examples in our Dropbox that's shared with you. So certainly utilize this, save this as a new file so you can put your staff names in there and plug those in. So that'll be a helpful tool for you. Let's talk about the final process, which is implementation of these wages. Here's a couple good tricks that you can utilize. Now, we set our wages, our raises for January 1. My fiscal year for staff required trainings is March 1 through February 28th. So I require all of my staff to make sure they get all of their required trainings done for the year, for my fiscal year, by Christmas in order to receive their raise January 1. I know, right? Brilliant. If you have a brilliant idea like this, put this in the comments below. Let's make this a running conversation so everybody can benefit from each other. But everybody has some great ideas. I think this is one of mine. So my staff now are cramming to make sure all of their continuing education courses are done, making sure that all their files are up to date and so forth as well by Christmas time so that they qualify for their increase January 1. If they don't have it done by Christmas, then their raise gets pushed to February 1. And if it's not done at the end of January, it gets pushed 2 months out, and so on and so forth. So you maybe utilize that wage increase for making sure staff are getting stuff done. Put the responsibility back on the staff. That's a really important thing. And then I sit down with my staff to do a peer review and employee evaluation at the end of the year and talk about how they're doing. There's 2 things that happen with wage increases. Number one, what I want to pay my staff, and what I have to pay my staff, and what I should pay my staff. Those 3 numbers are not typically the same number. I want to pay my staff as much as possible. just like my rates, I want to keep my rates at the top of the industry in my market. I want to do the same thing with my wages so it's competitive. I do not want staff leaving my facility to go work for another because they're paying 50-cent average on more or $1 more. I want to continue to push my staff's wages as high as I can. In exchange, I want to push their standards and expectations as high as I can as well. So make sure throughout the year you are giving them clear expectations of what you need from them, from their program. There's one thing, there's all different types of employees. Some come to work and they are there every day, and they come in, they punch the clock, they get out, they do a great job, but they're capable of doing more. And if you don't ask them to do more, if you don't set those expectations on them, most of the time that more won't get done. So if you want to continue to pay them more and push their wage as high as you can in the industry, make sure you're encouraging them and incentivizing them to hit high expectations. Now, maybe this year you're asking them to step outside their classroom and help with the preschool classroom next door with their planning, or to mentor new staff. Maybe you take a new staff and you give them a mentor outside of their current classroom, and maybe that's a role. Maybe you use their class as the working interview classroom. I certainly have my favorite classrooms with staff where every time I have a new employee apply that qualifies for a working interview, I send to them. And then you want great consistent feedback. If you have not watched the working interview training, we'll put a link to that right up here in the corner. So figure out what you can ask of each staff that's above and beyond what they're currently doing. And if you want to give them that dollar raise January 1st, maybe you build that in steps, and you go, hey, this is what I want to pay you in 2020, but here's what I need in 2020. The consistency you're great at, the showing up, you've got a great attitude, you run a great classroom. As we want to continue to build more value for our children in our program and our community, we need more from our staff. And I'm looking at you as a senior staff member to step outside your comfort zone in these few areas. So the 3 things I want you to do: I want you to work on helping our other preschool classroom with planning. I want you to partner with them and mentor them. I want you to be a resource for staff when they need ideas, troubleshooting. So we're going to point you out as a senior staff member when it comes to maybe kids that are having challenging behaviors, those kind of things. Come to you, Denise, and they're going to come to you and ask you for it. And I want you to really be open with that and proactive. And then thirdly, the thing is, I'm going to be sending my working interviews your way. And I want you to be consistent in evaluating them and give me good feedback, and partner with me on the hiring process so that you can help me make good decisions from that teacher classroom perspective when you're working with these new potential candidates. So making sure you're laying your expectations out there, not just at the end of the year before wages, but throughout the year. But if they haven't met them, now's a great time. January 1, you're going to sit down and do those evaluations and talk to them about raises. You go, okay, here's the thing, is that we're going to build that dollar out in 3 steps. The first step today is going to be a 50-cent raise, and then there's 2 more steps. So we'll revisit this every 2 months, and in 2 months, if we're meeting those expectations, then we'll give you the other 50 cents. If we're halfway there, we'll implement a 25-cent raise at the end of February, March 1, and then if we need some more help and more time to finish demonstrating your leadership in these other areas, then we'll implement that May 1, right? And we'll get you to that dollar raise. But I need your help. I need your partnership and your experience and all your expertise. So, all right. I hope this video is helpful to you with looking at different ways to evaluate the cost and expense of your staff in your wages. Use that tool. Reach out if you need it, if you don't have it already. Thank you for watching. If you like it, subscribe, hit the like button. Thanks. Have a marvelous day. If you found the content of this video resourceful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on future content. Thanks for watching.